time in history, there wasn't really a concept.
In a cafe, Jake fumbled with his coffee order, inadvertently asking for a tall, dark, and steamy.
Eventually, my bosses.
This is deepfake example of what is possible with powerful computer and editing.
It got me thinking about my full-time employees and their ability to survive on
capability in case you do have an escape.
In a cafe, Jake fumbled with his coffee order, inadvertently asking for a tall.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not.
Good morning, everyone. Great to see real people after this deepfakes. So when we started thinking about what to speak for this keynote, we started a whole bunch of brainstorming session. Obviously, it's all going to be about AI. But what in AI? Every day we see some new YouTube videos. There is a whole lot of new papers coming in. So we had a whole lot of brainstorming session over the last few weeks, and then we figured out there is some story about humans embedded in all of these technology, innovations, and progress. So what I'm going to do today is talk about the humans who got us here. And what does it mean for people in technology like all of us? And what are some of the skills we need to hone to be ready for the brave new world which is right in front of us? I start this with a story of a 15-year-old immigrant from Chengdu, China. They moved to the US. Think of this kid, 15 years old, going to high school, doesn't understand English, but learn complex things like math and biology and physics. Because of a passion for science, she persevered through it. She went into Caltech and Princeton to start the AI lab in Stanford. And Feifei is also deeply altruistic. All our research is focused on ethical AI, and really, how do you make AI truly beneficial for a larger set of humans? And when she started this lab, the cool thing to do in research was to work on fancy machine learning models. Every researcher is working on these models, and she figures out that there is no data to train all these models. And we built all of these models, and there was this one initiative which was happening called ImageNet. She started reviving this. This is the idea to create millions of images, tag them manually, and catalog them so that we can use this data to train machine learning models. And it was painstaking. It took several years to create this data set, massive data sets of images. Now she has created this data set, right? So you have this millions of images. What do you do with it? She thinks of this annual challenge for large-scale visual recognition. And it goes on for a few years. There is this interesting team of scientists from University of Toronto. And this team, interestingly, one of the team members is Ilya, the co-founder of OpenAI. I'll come back to that later. They dust off this old, 50-year-old algorithm called convolutional neural networks. It's a classical computer science neural network algorithm. How many of you went to computer science in 1980s here? Okay, so few of them are ready to reveal their age, but most of you don't seem to be. So they then take this convolutional neural network and say, okay, can I train this on the ImageNet data set? The results were astonishing. They call this AlexNet, and AlexNet error rate was 40% lesser in recognizing images compared to any other algorithm. This just vitalized the research community, start looking at some of these older algorithms, and deep learning became a major initiative. Now comes the next person in our story, Jensen Huang, another immigrant from Taiwan. He is this hard-knuckled entrepreneur. NVIDIA is an overnight success, making in the last 30 years. When Jensen Huang started NVIDIA, there were 250 graphics card companies, 250 graphics card companies. 80 of them were VC funded. See, he continued to out-innovate every single company. And one of the masterstroke, he came up with, hey, can I create this software layer on top of all the semiconductor chips they're building? So that software engineers can not just use it for gaming, which was largely used for NVIDIA, but they can use for other applications. There is this famous story about Jensen Huang. There is this professor working on physics simulation models for a long time. And these models in the university data center, they used to take weeks to run. And his son, who's a gaming enthusiast, he said, hey, why can't you go to the local electronics store, buy NVIDIA cards, program it so that you can run your simulations on this. And magically, when he ran it on NVIDIA cards, it happened in weeks instead of months and years of others. So this professor writes an emotional note to Jensen Huang, saying that you saved my life's work. This triggers the idea for Jensen Huang to take a chunk from graphics card and take it to every other application. So all of the Bitcoin mining, all the cryptocurrencies run on NVIDIA chips. And he moved into every other scenarios, including AI right now. And when you talk to VCs, and all of us have VC friends, right? When you go and talk to VCs, what they say is, hey, find a large addressable market. Find a product market fit, we will fund you. Jensen Huang is different. His view is, find what he calls $0 billion markets. Find something which is nobody is buying today. There is no consumption. But in the future, it's going to be a big thing. He had this very interesting thing. He talks about positioning the company next to near opportunities. So when it does happen, like he gives an example of, when the apple falls on the tree, he is the one to collect it, or at least pick it up. Amazing, amazing entrepreneur. Now, the next set of characters in our story is this research scientist sitting in the back office of Google. Google is working on some fancy things like self-driving cars, internet balloons, and these engineers are quietly working on the backside. And Ashish Vaswani, a very interesting person. I think of him as Captain America in Marvel. He brings in this diverse set of people, linguistics, engineers, algorithm specialists, neural networks, and brings them together. And the deep insight for them is this. When the model can look at a part of the input rather than the entire input, almost like when somebody asks you the question, we're looking at parts, the most important part of the question. If we can have our models look at it and they build this paper, attention is all is required, right? And that paper revolutionized how you think about machine learning. And Google had this algorithm way before the paper was launched. They had the commercial capability, they had the technology capability, and the product capability. But they were not the first to market. This reminds me of what happened in Xerox Labs. Xerox Lab built GUI. The people, Steve Jobs, the visionary entrepreneur, was able to identify that that's going to be a big thing, and they were able to bring it to market much, much before what Xerox could potentially dream of. This time, it was not done by visionary entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs. Ari Emanuel, I don't know how many of you heard of Ari Emanuel. He's the #1 Hollywood agent, talent agent. He talks about this person who created this as con man. Can you guess who that is? Calling Sam Altman a con man is going a bit too far. But I would call him as a Chanakya of our times. And he was able to outmaneuver Elon Musk to take control of OpenAI. He was able to convince Microsoft to give them $10 billion. He was able to convince Tim Cook to have ChatGPT. When the new iPhone comes in, ChatGPT is going to be billions of devices. Convince Tim Cook to able to provide them. The brilliant engineers in OpenAI was able to take what Fei did, able to take the transformer model and use Jensen Huang's capability and get the transformer models into the market first before anybody else. Sam Altman is not like the other visionary entrepreneurs. He has never created a successful startup successful company, nor he has invented any technology. What he is a master strategist or orchestrator. And that is the kind of people which was required to get this technology in the market. So you saw these 4 interesting people, 4 stories. The fascinating thing is, all of the stories happened in a 20-mile radius in Silicon Valley, 20-mile radius. The best VCs, the talent from all over the world, the regulatory framework, the ambition and mission, and more importantly, mentorship, which is available in Silicon Valley, is continue to make it PC revolution, cloud revolution, mobile revolution. Every single technology revolution in the last 50 years comes out of this small 20-mile radius, compared to the size of the Earth. It's a very small place. It's fascinating. China has tried it. Israel has tried it. Even within the US, there are other places like Austin have tried it. Nobody has been able to replicate it. Which other city do you think has a chance of replicating Silicon Valley? All right, we are in room of optimists. I like that. Now, going back to our story. So all of this happened, interesting breakthrough innovation happening. And we go into COVID time, all of us, we went through this. Massive growth in hyperscaler, all of these companies, large companies, growing very fast, churning out a bunch of profits. But Microsoft is focusing on cloud infrastructure. Mark Zuckerberg is, I would say, like obsessed with Omniverse. You have people like Tim Cook working on self-driving car, augmented reality. Even though the transformer model was created in the backyard, Google was focusing on something else. All of these 4 companies, in a dime, switched to focusing on AI. And it's never happened in the world where the top companies, the best companies in profits and market cap and all of that, focusing on single innovation. And you can see that in numbers. The numbers are quite staggering. These 20 companies, we call them as a global AI innovation nexus. These 20 companies are valued $14 trillion. $14 trillion. 1/3 of all S&P 500. And these companies are going to spend $1.5 trillion, not billion, trillion dollars on AI-enabled R&D. And the reason why they are able to do it is this: they created a $2 trillion of profits, $2 trillion of profits in the last 4 years. So these companies have the money, they have the talent density, and they have the know-how to be able to drive this way of AI, right? Now comes the next interesting character in our story. Another immigrant. When I started this, I was not going to tell a story of immigrants, but it ended up this way. Another immigrant born to Pakistani immigrants in Britain, Lina Khan. She's 36 years old. She's a chairman of FTC. And while she was in Yale, she wrote this paper called Amazon's Antitrust Paradox. What she argued is these large digital platforms are able to use their market power and stifle competition, create barriers for competition, and capture large swaths of market. And she argued that for long term, that's going to be not good for customers. So what she is doing is she's going after these large companies. Whenever they invest, these large companies, what do they want to do? They have $2 trillion of money, profits. They want to buy every single interesting startup which is coming in this area. Lina Khan, like, no, you're not going after them. She is scrutinizing every single partnership, every single investment from these large companies which is going into startups. What has it created? It's now created 30,000 startups, thriving startups, working on AI across the world. 30,000 startups. And here comes another immigrant, right? Arvind Srinivas, graduate of IIT Chennai. And he went to in Berkeley, and when he was doing PhD, he figured out citations are so critical, right? We do a lot of research, and citations are so critical, and every sentence in a research paper has to be through citation, or it has to be experimentally proved. He figured out that how do I use it where I can build a software which will give me generative AI-based summaries, but also provide me the relevant links. You would think Google should have thought about it. No, right? Perplexity is now one of the fastest growing search engine in the world. So you have the startups which are coming in, right? All of these characters work together, builders, now startups and large companies building together, and everybody is going after artificial general intelligence. So what does all mean to us? If you go back and look at Henry Ford invented the assembly line. When Henry Ford invented the assembly line, it made easy for us to automate some of the simple manual tasks. Then the digital transformation wave came in. During the digital transformation wave, we had technology like RPA, which was automating the manual task of individuals. Then we looked into, the marketing folks has to use data. We are able to build tools to automate things like SEO, SEM, and so on. That's the first wave of automation. Now you think of the second wave of automation. Second wave of automation is starting in the other direction. It started with the creative folks, marketing, art, filmmaking, music, because AI is able to create these. Second is getting into software engineering. And getting into roles like me, a management consultant, might not be relevant in the next 10 years, 20 years. And then going into more complex robotics, right? So the direction of automation in the wave one was different. The direction of automation in wave two is different. And that's what is scary for us, because we think of our brains, our intellectual capability as superior than our manual capability. But in the future, it's possible that your carpenters and plumbers will get paid more than software engineers and management consultants. My team might not like that, but that could potentially happen. So what we did is, we looked at all the different jobs, looked at what is the economic contribution of these jobs, what is the AI impact. Clearly, the top job, which came in all of this, is software engineering. And it's fascinating, and then we said, okay, software engineering comes out, can we now understand this deeper? So we ran a survey of 1,000+ engineers across the world to understand how are they adopting AI, how are they using AI in their day-to-day work. What came out was fascinating. Already, across the product development value chain, companies are starting to use AI. Now, over the next few years, it's 100% across the value chain, companies are going to use AI. The interesting insight when I went into the deeper in the study was 25% of the engineers are paying for these tools themselves. The company is not allowing them. Companies say, hey, there's this regulatory challenge, we can't use AI. But the engineers are paying their own money and buying these tools and using these tools. Think of it when you're going and attracting top talent. Talent wants to use this tool. So if you're a company, you're saying, hey, I don't want to use AI, I have these issues, privacy, and all of the reasons what we give. But what would happen is that would become a hindrance for you to attract high-quality talent. Right, so this is again very interesting in terms of how AI is going to be adopted across. And we grilled into a little bit more deeper, and we did more deeper interviews. Now, one of the things, interesting interview we did is a Drops CTO, and he said that the top engineers seem to have higher productivity throughput compared to junior engineers. His point is, when I have a principal engineer, and the principal engineer is working on something, they need lots of junior engineers to help them get the things done. But now these engineers are able to get it done with the help of AI. So a principal engineer will pick up 1 or 2 projects, are able to pick up multiple projects. And once he talked about this concept of 10x engineer, AI, we believe, will make these 10x engineers 100x engineers. So you just play it forward and see, what does this mean? Let's think of sports. The top sports person are paid way higher than Virat Kohli and Dhoni, get paid way higher than anybody else. The recruiting company not is working with BCCI or with RCB. They're representing the sportsman. Our view is, in the future, you're going to have these 100x engineers. They are going to be represented by agents. And these agents will then sell and negotiate for them. Hey, I want to get this project done. This is $10 million for this team for a month. They will get this done. That's negotiated by the agent. Think of the current tech services industry construct. They might pay the engineer 15, 20% of the money they charge the customer. Remaining money goes into profits, sales, other aspects. Look at talent agent concept. 20% goes to the agency, remaining goes to the talent. We believe that's a new model of tech services. It's based on the agency model of Hollywood is going to come in to represent these top engineers. There might be anywhere. There might be in India. There might be anywhere in the world. So that's one kind of prediction. Another interesting thing which came in this qualitative interviews is AI is enabling these people to get up to speed in much shorter time. Think of the scenario. You have a principal engineer, staff engineer, architect. It's taken them 15, 20 years to get better in their craft. This whole concept of 10,000 hours to get good in what you're doing. If AI is going to enable people to get up to speed much faster, you're going to have people who can get up to speed in 5 years. With a country like India, we have millions of people coming from down. So another prediction we have is similar to sports. The time where you can monetize your skills in technology, it's going to be short. You would be able to monetize it over the 10, 15 years because things will change. The next set of people are coming in. They're going to get productive quickly. So you're almost like, we're almost in our scenario, we think of this as a lifelong job. It's not. And that's another prediction what we have over the next few years. Let's see how it kind of pans out. And it's just in software. It's going to happen across all of these different areas. Right? Imagine you want to buy a shoe. You're chatting with an agent. Hey, here's the kind of shoe I need. The shoe gets automatically 3D printed. It's transferred through a drones in AI, so without any human intervention. That is what is possible in the future. When marginal cost of products and services becomes zero, marginal cost of manufacturing, almost like in software, open source, right? It's free. Your marginal cost of building customer service, any new product is zero. What do we all do with our time? Which is an interesting point we have to think about. And we believe that people with infinite ambition and skills will create what we call as one-person unicorns. But you can see that the unicorn, that number of people required to create unicorns is slowly coming down. And NVIDIA's market cap per person is $100 million per person. Is $100 million. TCS market cap per person, TCS exceptional company, market cap per person is $200,000. So you think of your top talent, where will they want to work in? They want to work in companies which are going to create a $100 million market cap compared to $200,000 market cap per person. So even a talent density is going to go toward these companies, which is creating incredible amount of value. When all of this happens, the big question again, we asked ourselves, what do we do with our time? And how do we understand what do we do with our time? The best thing we thought is study people who have been rich for a long period of time. They've been rich for the last 3 generations. Look at countries which are very rich. They don't have to work for a living. What happens to these people? Our office in New York City is in Rockefeller Center. I'm always fascinated by this Rockefeller. Rockefeller's wealth in today's value is $400 billion in 1920. $400 billion. His wealth was 1.5 times of US GDP, 1.5 times of US GDP, or percent of US GDP. And Rockefeller, after 4 generations, they all seem to be happy. They seem to have found the purpose in life. Look at a country like Norway. I like this country quite a bit because they export oil to everybody else, and they drive in bicycles and EV cars. And if they chose not to work, they can actually get immigrants into Norway and get all the work done. Right? In the future, AI could potentially do all this work. And so, in some level, what we see is all of these people are able to find their purpose when marginal cost of products and services is 0, when all of us are going to be rich. I think we will figure out what our purpose in life is. So we don't have to worry too much about this whenever it happens. The other big question we had was, what is the traits of leaders who will succeed in the future, in the AI-led future? One thing I imagine myself is, if I was born 10,000 years ago, when I have to hunt for a living, my wife here will laugh, when I have to hunt for a living. Or 1,000 years ago, when I have to fight with my tribe, I would not have gone past my teenagers. I'm just lucky to be born in a time what I have to say is useful for thousands of people. I'm just lucky to be born at this time. And you look at people who were successful 1,000 years ago. You need physical strength to be successful as a leader. Then we had guns, we had military. Even a smaller person like Napoleon was very successful because you had the tools to be successful. In the last 50 years, you have the entrepreneurs supported by the technology innovation and also capitalist model of society. And that has allowed entrepreneurs, be it Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and others, to be very successful. So what are the traits required to be successful in the future, in the AI-led future? I think there is something for us to learn from the 4 people I talked about in the start of the presentation. Feifei. When Feifei started the ImageNet project, the estimated time to complete the ImageNet project was 19 years. 19 years. That was the estimate. And she didn't say no. She said, oh, it's too difficult. She didn't say that. She said, this is too important. This is too important a problem for us to solve. Let me go figure out how to solve it. So she figured out, she innovated, and figured out how to solve it in a matter of several months, then 19 years. That pursuit, that rigor to go after something with the altruistic need, super critical. Jensen Huang. And more we read, more we listen to him, you're fascinated about this person. Somebody asked him, what does your daily day look like? He said, I get up 5 a.m. The moment I wake up, I start working. And I keep working till the moment I sleep. And when I'm not working, I'm thinking about working. And when I'm working, I'm working. And that's Jensen Huang. So when you have a passion for something, you go with purity around that, with attention and focus to get it done. You need that type of focus. And you have Ashish Vaswani, who was able to bring in a team of diverse capability and individuals to come together and to create great teams. And not just these 3 people, we also need skills like Sam Altman, where we are able to have infinite ambition because the scale possible in the future is huge. We need infinite ambition, also an ability to communicate and convince people and capital to help you progress and achieve that vision. More importantly, we need leaders to be human-centric. In a world which is going to be increasingly run by machines, we need leaders who are focused on humans, human-centric, and keep human in center of everything they think about. In this world of AI, one thing I'm sure cannot be done by AI is the energy of thousands of people coming together like this. I don't think AI can replicate that energy. I do hope we would, even well into the future, gather like this together to discuss and argue and collaborate on topics like this. We are entering into a brave new world. I just can't wait for it. Thank you.